Welcome to Colorado Soul Stories, showcasing changemakers and creatives, past and present, who have helped to make Colorado not just a pretty place to behold, but a soulful place to be. I'm your host, Mama Jill, longtime Colorado resident, former teacher, and freelance journalist. Let's get started with our next episode.
We were each other's favorites. We would always say, what if all that ever hurt just needed kerosene and everything looks beautiful and nothing's clean.
Support for Colorado Soul Stories comes from Thirst Colorado magazine, featuring exciting adventures, eclectic arts, and tasty craft drinks and food from all over Colorado. Consider Thirst Colorado your source for what to do and where to go to eat and drink after your adventures. This current issue profiles a larger-than-life Colorado artist, hidden gems to visit around Colorado, and lists hundreds of summer events statewide. Pick up a copy for free around town or check them out online. Jennifer Dempsey came to live in Salida, Colorado about 20 years ago. After ruminating about her future, she ended up doing what she does best: circusing. Her story is a study in how our childhoods can influence our adult journey. Jennifer founded the Salida Circus in 2007. My first encounter with this charming organization came about 10 years ago while watching the 4th of July parade travel down the main street of Salida. It was a bit of a surreal experience that seemed to transport me to a long-gone era as I observed the acrobats, clowns, jugglers, and unicycles pass by in their sequined outfits. In this interview, we learn about social circusing, which at minimum aims at cultivating inclusiveness between all participants. During our conversation, Jennifer reflects on her time with the Belfast Circus during its troubles. She shares her notion that clowning can be a catalyst for breaking down barriers and providing perspective in tough situations. And we learn how the isolation of COVID helped her to begin the self-reflection that has transformed into her ongoing one-woman play, Something Great. We learn how Jennifer, always bubbling with new ideas, is helping to showcase lesser-known stories through her Colorado Tints theater company and her most recent project, Heal, a creative approach to personal development. Jennifer Dempsey is a passionista. She is a hardworking, purpose-driven, curious, and enthusiastic creative, constantly churning out ways to manifest joy, humor, and fun for all. I, for one, am very glad to know her. Please enjoy this very substantial conversation. Hi there, this is Mama Jill, and we're at Chavano Street Studios in Salida, Colorado, and I am here with my friend Jennifer Dempsey, most well known for the Salida Circus. Welcome, Jennifer.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Shall we tell them about your injury?
I'm laying here icing a torn meniscus.
Poor thing. I did not know she was going to arrive that way, so she's
good.
on the couch. But otherwise, okay,
Yep.
it seems like,
Yep.
right?
Totally fine.
And the son just passed his driving test,
Yes.
which is
yes,
amazing.
Yes.
So look out, Salida.
That's right.
Henry is out there in the car. I knew who you were when I moved here, of course, because you're a public figure around here. And I was like, oh, I'd love to get to know her sometime. And I was in town by myself. And I went to the creative mixer at the Steam Plant. This is like 2 or 3 years ago. Might have been end of COVID, probably. And you were there. I think Tim Brown was there. A lot of kind of people I recognized but didn't know yet. And we just started chatting, and you were just so enthusiastic, which I think is an understatement, and then also just inclusive and generous. You have all these ideas, and when I told you some of my ideas, you were like, well, you should do this, and you should this, and do this at a church, and I was like, wow, okay, good idea.
Oh, good.
Yeah, you were supportive.
Good. I'm glad.
Which was really nice, yeah. Jen, if you guys don't know it, started a circus in Salida around 2007.
Yep, 2007.
And we are going to give you an overview of that. There's been a few interviews and many, many articles written about it. So we're going to start off giving a summary of the circus and then go on to many other things she's been doing lately. So this started, in a way, when you were 8 years old, I heard.
My 3rd grade teacher.
3rd grade?
Yes. My 3rd grade PE teacher, Mr. Moyer, had an after-school circus club. And So that was my after school activity with my brothers and sisters. There's 5 kids in my family. So we were all in this like little circus club through elementary school.
You were all in it.
Yep. Yeah.
Wow.
My brother, who's 2 years older, when he was 12, he was like national unicycle champion, like it was a little community thing, but my PE teacher, Mr. Moyer, had ideas too, and he would get us out on the road and tour us around the DC area. I grew up in Fairfax, Virginia. So, when I think back on it, it was like the norm for me, just to go on these, what's the show this weekend? And now I look back, I'm like, wow, that was really, really unique.
Yeah.
So I dropped out when I was 13, like a lot of kids do. They kind of get too cool for circus school. And, did the high school thing and got into journalism, and then dropped out of college, UMass Amherst, as an English major. I was doing a lot of journalism, but I just wasn't a traditional student. So dropped out, ruminated for a while, and then I ended up going to Queen's University in Belfast as a junior year abroad.
Okay, so what I want to know about that,
Yeah.
that's a big story in your life. How did it become Belfast?
So I have Irish passport. I have Irish citizenship.
Oh,
Yeah, and that came through my dad.
okay.
In the early 80s, the Irish government was worried about the brain drain, people leaving Ireland to go other places, get better work. They said Americans who have 2 or 3 generations back relatives could apply. So he applied, and we all got Irish passports. And I didn't give it a second thought because I was a teenager. But then when I realized, I can live here and I'm part of the European Union, okay, blah, blah. So when I went to Queen's, I had to prove to myself again that I was not a traditional student. So about a month into my course, I discovered the Belfast Circus, and it was a cross-community peace and reconciliation. This was in '89, so the Troubles were going on. Mm-hmm. And it was using circus skills as a way to bring communities together and children together. I was like, I am in, like 100% in. So I dropped out of Queens and joined the circus as a volunteer in the middle of the Trouble.
I'm going to interject real quick. Mm-hmm. I know about the Troubles. My uncle actually wrote stories about. I'll give you his books. And that went on for a while, right?
So the peace agreement was in '98, so that was 30 years. 69 is when it officially kicked off,
So would you loosely call that a conflict between the Catholics and the...
So it's like many conflicts around the world. It can be reduced to Catholics versus Protestant. But really what it is a real estate situation where one country is like occupying somebody else's country. And that's like, oh, okay, let's stop doing that. Happens though, then you get all kind of multi-layer conflict going on. Okay. And so the Catholic and Protestant aspect of was that Catholics were mostly identified with being Irish Catholics, and then the Protestants mostly identified with being British, Northern Irish British. So it was just an easy way to define the conflict.
Okay. So you're there kind of, during the last 10 years of it.
Mm-hmm.
So the circus was kind of a nice distraction, it sounds like, for the young people.
It was, and it was like a neutral activity because a lot of the other activities, the arts and crafts, were aligned with one side or the other, like some types of music, even theater. They had such a thriving theater. They just saw the arts there as a real way to bring people together where they could discuss hard things. Creative outlets allow people to express themselves beyond the conventional norms they live in, right? Mm-hmm. And so with the circus, because it was started by an Australian gentleman.
The one in Belfast?
Mm-hmm. Huh. Yeah, started by an Australian. Huh. And it always brought in international people, too. It was like a subculture.
Did you feel like because it was started by an Australian that was outside of the conflict, it became more inclusive?
I do. Maybe? I think so, because it wasn't like, Paddy O'Reilly started the circus, So it was this wacky guy from Australia, Mike Maloney, who was just like the larger-than-life character in town.
Wow.
And when I was part of it, I was very much aware, like, we're just seen as harmless circus freaks. But that allowed us to go into areas that like other people wouldn't. I think it gave us this sort of immunity to the political situation. I've seen this in other countries too. For example, I was in Guatemala and this clown troupe were going into these really rural indigenous areas, super Catholic areas, and talking about like sex ed. And that would never be allowed had it not been for this neutral, seemingly harmless, like way of doing it through these clowns.
Wow. We should send them to Iran
I know, right?
and have them
Yeah.
work things out for us. My goodness.
I mean, and I'll just say here, because it's on my top of mind, this morning I had a super interesting conversation with this guy in South Africa named Shaka September, and he does outreach clowning in the townships, started troops and stuff. So there's a real network of what's called social circus around the world.
Okay, that I did read
Yeah.
about, and I loved it. It didn't surprise me. To me, it was aligned with the other arts, although the circus is definitely a unique branch of the arts. You know, it's got creativity and physicality to
Yeah.
it, and I think you said once how, you know, you can't think about too much else when you're spotting somebody
down.
on the trapeze or
Yeah.
something. You know, you just got to concentrate on that, and those
Yeah.
kind of activities. Like I was talking about mountain biking.
Yeah.
Or, you got to concentrate on what you're doing. Yeah.
Brings you very present moment.
Yes.
It does, yeah.
Yeah, which is a gift for people that are consumed by anymore these days.
Distractions and stuff.
Yeah, very cool. So I love that it was something that was from your childhood that came back kind of when you needed it.
Right.
And then it stuck.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That's a good way of putting it. It did. I'm still trying to figure out how it all happened. That's why I keep writing about
Well,
it.
and I love that you're doing that. And I love that you're honoring that. This comes up a lot in my podcast with all the different people I talk to, where people will poo-poo the past and just be like, the past is past, leave it alone, let it go, forget it. And I'm like, you know, if we keep doing that, we're not going to learn anything. Our past is who we are.
Yeah.
So it is worth reflecting on and seeing the wisdom in it.
Yeah. So that brings up this
Yeah.
new thing that I'm doing now. It's a super interesting how our patterns are established in childhood, and then we live them out without realizing it. And we live them out until what I find is like there's either a crisis or there's either some reason where you realize you don't want to keep doing the same things the same way and repeating the same patterns. So that was a moment in my life where I had to be like, okay, I need to do things differently. I don't know how. So I'm going to just start looking into what the heck, which led me to learning about attachment theory.
So this is more recent.
This is now going 3.5 years ago. I started this.
Looking into attachment. So as a former teacher, I'm pretty sure I know what you're talking about. It's
Yeah.
like from birth.
Right. From like 0 to 12, they say, you know, it's all imprinted there, and your nervous system develops these patterns that get imprinted. And it's on this pre-verbal level. So we don't even know half the time why we're doing what we're doing. We're just driven by these patterns that have kept us alive. So they must be good.
Yeah.
And we're drawn to familiar over better.
Even when familiar might be dysfunctional.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So that's what I was seeing a lot. And I was like, I'm not a dum-dum. Like, why am I still doing the same things the same way?
Okay.
Because cognitively, intellectually, I know it's not going to serve me, but I'm still doing it. And that got me really interested. And then that's when I started learning about these instinctive patterns and these attachment patterns that are set.
Yeah.
So that led me to 3.5 years of a deep dive into it. And now I have a little coaching business, not a therapy business, but it's coaching. And it's really just sharing with other people what I learned.
Neat.
And I'm loving it. It's called HEAL,
Okay.
heal. And it stands for H, humor can heal. E, each person is a collection of parts. A, attachment styles can be changed. And L, laughter and crying spring from the same well.
Wow. That's a lot. That's
It's
mouthful.
a lot. Yes,
I love
yes.
it though.
So it's called HEAL, a creative approach to personal development.
I like that you're saying attachment styles can be changed.
Yeah.
Because as we get older, a lot of people just think, well, that's too hard. I don't want to change. But boy,
If
it can
you get in enough pain, you'll want to change.
Okay.
And yeah, that's my motto. But also, what I'm finding too is people are at different places. They might want a little micro change. They might want to, what are you talking about anyway? Maybe it's just on that level. That's fine. And
whatever
then
level.
Some people want to go deep in. That's cool too. So
So for you, you were diving deep, I'm assuming, in about your personal life.
Yeah.
Because you're clearly doing some wonderful things in your outer life. And
Thank you.
We'll keep talking about
Yeah.
that. So, do you have a website for that yet?
Yes, I do.
Okay, what's it called?
It's healsalida.com.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so the way I'm doing that is 4 sessions, because you'll get somewhere in 4 sessions. And I want people to be able to do it. I want them to want to do it. So I'm keeping the prices very, very reasonable. And I look at it like a creative journey, you know.
Yeah.
And it can be anything. You don't have to have a big crisis. You don't have to, but you could just be curious of like, I wonder if I could do things a little differently. It's like, I don't know. Let's explore.
And you can learn from each other too,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, that's neat. I am fascinated with, how did you get to Salida?
Oh, so my mom and her husband had been living here for about 5 years, and I left Belfast in 2001, and actually I left September. My company was on tour in New York. 9/11 happened.
Oh, right.
And I was in California visiting my sister when 9/11 happened, like 2 days after our last gig. And so I was in California. My sister and I, we started a circus company there for about 5 years. And then she got married and did other things. And I was like, what am I going to do when I grow up? And I was like, well, I don't know, but I got to figure it out. And I can't afford California. Why don't I go to Salida?
And you knew Salida because your mom was already here. Okay. Is it okay if I point out who she was married to at the time?
Sure.
I don't know how to say his last name.
Kent Hariff.
Hariff. I always go Haruff. Like
Yeah, people say that.
Heffalump or something. He is one of my favorite writers. Our Souls at Night. Yeah. But Plain Song is wonderful.
Yeah.
And they're all written with, in my opinion, a little flavor of Colorado.
Oh, definitely.
And
They're
this
definitely
part of Colorado.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's another thing people can check into. His books are wonderful. How did they meet? Just in Salida?
Well, no, they grew up in Canyon City together.
Oh, no way.
So they grew up in Canyon City, went their separate ways, got married, had families, and then at their 30th high school reunion, they remet.
I've heard stories like that about
Yeah.
reunions. So your mom had roots here.
Yep.
Okay, fascinating. Okay, so
Yeah.
you're like, oh, go see mom, and
Yeah.
you'd clearly probably been here a
Yes.
few times,
Yes. And I was 39, and I had done the circus thing for, I guess, 20 years at that point, or over 25 years or something. And I was like, what about that other thing everybody else does? Like,
Work.
has a family and like has kids and stuff like that.
Right.
I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. So I just came to Salida. I pushed pause on my life, and I just said, I got to figure out what the next thing is for me to do. And I just came here, and I literally had nothing. I just lay down on the floor, and I said, okay, universe, like, I'm yours.
Yeah.
Tell me what to do. And then 2 days later, I started workshops in the backyard.
for circus. You know, big surprise. I
Yeah.
mean, you'd already dedicated your life.
Yeah, and I was like, no, I love that. That is my passion. So, okay, all right. I want to, hey, kids across the street, you want to come learn cartwheels? Like, literally, it started like that. And then one thing led to another. And then these 2 wonderful children come into my life when they were 11 and 13.
Were they from here?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
great.
And so we were a little family unit. We were the Salida Circus back in the day. And then the circus grew. And then I had my beautiful son, Henry, a couple years later. And
So things, just kind of evolved.
They
and
did,
You
and
got your family. And
yeah. And I came from just being open. I just stepped out of everything that was like all my shoulds and all my to-dos. And I said, I don't know. I can't even hear through all the noise that is my life right now. So I just stepped away from it.
Yeah, that's often a really good thing to do. Mm-hmm. I used to call it significant interruption, which
Yeah.
would usually mean leaving the current life behind and just doing a trip or something and letting that kind of help me clear my head. And however it happens or manifests, I think
Yeah.
if you don't do that every once in a while, life gets a little boring.
It does. And I think you can get kind of caught up in the minutia. And so for me, it just was a way of clearing out what I didn't need anymore. And then whatever was going to bubble up was obviously, okay, that's my next thing.
Yeah, if it sounds good. So it really evolved from that.
Yeah,
I mean,
it did.
now you've got like little satellite
Yeah.
circuses and
So it'll be 20 years. Salida Circus will be 20 years next year. So
Okay, are you gonna celebrate?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, big time. And it's grown into this thing I never planned. I knew the potential it could go, but I when I started it, like I said, I was 39, so I got a lot of it out of my system already.
Yeah.
So I was sort of like, let's just see where this goes. And it certainly filled a niche here, and it grew because people put their energy into it. I always say Salida Circus was built on social capital,
Yeah.
I didn't have any money, whatever, but I had a lot of enthusiasm.
Yes.
Which matters. That is like currency in the bank. It is. I've engaged with a lot of like money people over the years.
Oh, okay.
Because again, it evolved to that place. And I at first was like really intimidated talking to them. And I felt like I'm not a businesswoman. And then as I had conversations, especially with really progressive minded business people, you are a business person. You're an intuitive person. I was
you're
like,
running
thank
it.
you.
You're running the circus.
Yeah.
And
And somebody said once, people may know, quote, business, but they don't know your business. And I was like, you're right. So that was also a really interesting education to kind of blend the two worlds. So over the years, Salida Circus got funding and grew and became this like professional performing troupe out in the world, as well as doing the outreach here. And now a couple of our acrobats that came through the Salida Circus now have their own circus
Okay.
training gym,
Yeah.
E5, and it's awesome. I look at that like, yay, we were successful. We like birthed this awesome company that's now doing its thing. And that also frees up Salida Circus to do other things like international exchanges.
Right.
And we have a circus house now, and we can expand to new outreach, little outposts and things. So
all over the place.
all over the place.
Seems like. And I sadly feel like I see it less around here.
Well, it's funny because people are like, I didn't know you travel. I didn't know that you guys had and it's true because all of our professional gigs are like in the cities or, more out
Away from here. Yeah.
away from here. And so we're an active, actual working circus. Yeah. That employs
Congratulations.
people.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And brings joy and happiness.
I'll tell you one thing, when they start like a nonprofit or a passion project, allow it to shapeshift. Some years you're going to have 300 kids
Yeah.
coming, and other years you might have 30.
Okay.
That's okay. Communities change, needs change, all that stuff.
That's good to hear because there's a lot of people out there trying to start a small business or even just me doing this podcast. Some days I get huge amount of listeners
Yeah.
and other days I get less, and it's again one of those kind of shoulds and expectations of it should just go straight up.
Yeah, no.
Straight up, and if you're to be successful, well, that's just not realistic.
No. Also, I think because when I started the circus, my only goal was that I wanted to make a living doing what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And so it meant getting a stilt gig, and then I had $100. Okay, I'm good for the week.
Baby steps.
And like sometimes I go, oh, it was so simple back then.
Yeah.
And so easy, and now it's this whole other operation, which is great. But I was talking to somebody the other day who's starting up a passion project. It's a great idea. And as we were brainstorming and I started bringing out grants, I said, you know what, let's not even talk about that yet. I said, just stay close to the joy of what your
Don't lose
idea
that.
is, because
Yeah.
that's what's going to sustain you. And sometimes when, grants can be a double-edged sword. I mean, great, you got funding to do this thing. Now you got to do the thing.
Yeah, you got to do it their way sometimes.
And you just got a chunk of change that just created a whole lot of work for you. Okay, that's great. Like, manage your energy. So, I don't know. That's been my journey.
Yeah.
And everybody will have their own. And
and you're well respected for that. And we were talking earlier about being an artsy person and people kind of not getting it sometimes, the rest of the world. But then when you do something pretty cool, everybody's like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
you did that. Well, you must be pretty smart for a creative person or
Yeah.
whatever. You've definitely proven yourself. You have over the years. When you were talking to Adam on the We Are Chafee podcast, it did come up kind of about how traditional school didn't work for you. And myself as a teacher, those were the kids I would pay most attention to,
Yeah.
of course, and maybe I'd do things a little differently. And I was not a traditional teacher, but it made me want to ask you, are we doing it wrong if the misfitty, quote unquote, misfitty, but yet really creative kids are falling through the cracks,
boy, that's a good question. Okay, I'm just going to freeform the answer, right?
Yeah.
I have found in myself when I am confined, air quoting here, when I'm confined in a structure, sometimes that allows me to be my most creative.
Ah,
because I feel stuck, I feel frustrated, and I have to find an outlet. And I do. I went through public high schools and all that and did the traditional public high school thing. I was an average student, but I excelled in things like student government and these other areas. And when I look back, I wouldn't have had that experience if I hadn't felt frustrated or something. Here's my thing about creativity. And my stepdad, Kent, and I talked about this a lot. I always know I'm onto something when I feel that frustration, as he called it, this discontent sort of comes over you. And it's like, you kind of fester for a few days until something gives and like, oh, I'm suddenly drawing a picture or I'm writing a new chapter or something. And that release, there's a relief to it, you know? And so when I was younger, I struggled with that because I just didn't know what was going on. And it's a hard thing to name when you're young. And now that I see it, it's like, oh yeah, that frustration, you're probably going to do something interesting in a couple days.
But it is a different way around the barn, right? It seems like it's a negative thing, but it turns into a positive thing. You talked about the kids in Belfast using that kind of negativity around in their surroundings to be able to just put that fully into riding a unicycle or juggling or whatever.
Or humor. That's become another thing, a real passion of mine over these last couple of years. And I started like Humor Happy Hour and and I did that because, like with all things, if I want it in my life, I start it.
Yes. It kind of reminds me of I've done more of things like that after I quit teaching because I was so busy teaching. I do those things with the kids, but now I do them on my own, and I feel like I did when we were kids and we'd build a fort together or something. We just spontaneously do something. And that's such a freeing, happy, joyful thing to do.
It builds your self-esteem.
Absolutely.
I remember this girl. So we used to go to Ringley Brothers a lot, and she worked for it, this woman. And I was like 14 or whatever, and I was like, oh, yearning to be in the circus. And she said an off-the-cuff comment. It was devastating to me at the time, but she's like, oh, well, they like them really skinny, but you have time. And I thought, oh my God, I'm going to go that's like devastating to a 14-year-old girl,
Oh my God.
And part of the thing about social circus, and when I found the Belfast Circus, was I didn't have any of those confinements and any of those like horrible standards or whatever. I'd like to say American things have, but it's all over the world, that are dumb. They're dumb.
Requirements, especially of women.
Yeah. That is something that clowning, humor, social circus plays with. That's why it's very liberating. It's like, oh no, bring it on. Bring on all those beauty standards and all that. Bring it on, and let's have fun with it. Let's have fun with it. That's the kind of freedom that like circus and humor gives me now. And even just saying that to myself, I realize that is what my goal is to share with people, is the freedom of all these hang-ups that we internalize without realizing it. And playing around with these things that are imposed on us from society or cultures or whatever, standards, they don't feel like such a big deal anymore because like I know I have ways to play with them.
Yeah. Taking control, it's empowering and validating and puts those things in their place, I guess. That's a good message for everybody. When you think back over all the people you've interacted with through circus, is there a few people or stories that stick out in your head? I can think of certain students that just were close to my heart because maybe they were hard at first and then we broke through and did these fabulous things. Are there people like that you ponder over?
Oh gosh, there's tons in Belfast that are just kind of flurrying through my mind right now. But I'll say that I got hired by this company in London for a couple of years, and it was this two women who ran a circus theater company. And it was awesome and painful and awesome and hard and really fun. And it stands out because they showed me, it was so fascinating. They lived in a totally different world than I did. And being part of their company put me in that world. And they didn't follow the same rules that I grew up with.
Oh, nice.
It was so interesting. And here's the thing. I didn't even know I was following those rules.
Right.
until I was in their company, and they didn't give a crap about things that I had hangups about. And I was like, how come? And they would be like, I don't know, why do you know?
Was that a London thing? Or
They had a lot more experience of being like street performers than I did. And that's a whole other culture. Street performing is like, unlike, I mean, you go out and you fail in public,
Yeah.
and then you figure out what went wrong and you try to do better next time. So there's a really fast learning curve, and you have to get over yourself like quickly.
right? No embarrassment.
So that would be one thing that sticks out, is like, as hard as that 2 years working with them was, just grew the most. You know?
Yeah, growth has to happen through hard things sometimes.
Yeah.
Clearly. You mentioned your family a couple times. 5 kids. So
Yeah. Oh, yep. Older brother, older sister, younger brother, younger sister.
okay.
Yeah.
And that was in Virginia.
Yeah, just-
were there things in your childhood that did point to this journey?
I so wanted to fit into the traditional way.
We all do in the beginning.
In the beginning, I really did. And now that I look back, it's almost like a math problem to me. So my hangups came from not being able to follow the path that was laid out for me. You know, I had a good life waiting for me, and my temperament wouldn't allow it. And so, was it me crazy, or was this, life crazy, or blah, 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 blah? And I think it was just, I had a different path to follow.
Yeah.
I couldn't quite see what it was. I had very supportive parents. They were a little like at a loss of what to do with me, especially when I joined the circus during the troubles
so
in
they
Belfast.
didn't push the path, maybe other people, teachers, other adults in your life, culture.
Culture for
Society.
sure was the big thing.
Yeah.
And, both of my parents, they just wanted me to find my way.
Good.
They really did.
So that part of your childhood sounds like that helped. Mm-hmm. Yeah, with you finding.
Yep. And then I really think it was like learning how to manage my own creativity. That was my lesson to learn and figure it out. And, and you were talking about the misfits kids in school and stuff, and it's like, those are my peeps. And they always were. I feel for them. And here's another example. So I worked at this boys' home in Belfast, and they were called the bad boys on the hill.
Wow.
Yeah. They were like young offenders, or they were homeless kids. For whatever reason, they were not living at home.
Oh.
They were living in this training school, they called it. And they were hilarious. I had a great time working with them. We started a circus program there called Circus 1 to 3, because they were in this home between 1 and 3 years. And the BBC actually came in and did a documentary about it, because they were so intrigued how this circus program in a West Belfast Catholic boys reformatory home, like how is that gonna work? And for some it did, for some it didn't. I just remember that my overall impression was those boys had a resilience or a humor that was so admirable. I know a lot of it was defense, but I heard this phrase too, that kids in Belfast, that they thrive on neglect. And that statement always really stuck with me, because I saw that it lived out in Belfast. And a lot of kids I've worked with in disadvantaged areas, they have a resilience that pampered kids don't.
Well, right, because they had to survive at a much earlier, when they were kids, instead of...
And they're cheeky, and they're, all the things, but giving that kind of energy and outlet and channeling that is a lot of what the circus did too.
Yeah, very successful.
Yeah.
So Jen did a one-woman show called Something Great, which that helped us all learn more deeply about your experience in Belfast. It's been in 3 sections,
Yep,
right?
I just finished the 3rd part. So every time I finish a part, I think it's done, and then nope, next part starts coming through.
That's great.
And I do want to put it into book form one of these
good.
years.
Yeah.
So, but allowing it to kind of show me what's next. Part 4 is coming through. But I started writing that during the pandemic, when all the gigs stopped and I was sort of forced to sit with myself.
Is that how it started? To do, okay.
And I got that like grumbling discontent, and I'm like, what's up?
Yeah.
And then I did what? When? Where?
Okay.
And I was like, how in the heck did that happen? And so I started writing it to connect my own dots. We were talking earlier about how the past informs who we are, and I had to make sense of that. Yeah. And I just started writing whatever was coming to me, and it started to connect dots. And the interesting thing about writing a memoir, boy, it was the most informative thing I've done as far as looking at why I did things in particular, but also why anybody. It was an interesting process. I worked with a coach, and she would always say, well, what is the narrator doing now? And the narrator was based on me, but here I am writing it at, I think I started at 54, and I was writing about my 21-year-old self. So it was also interesting writing first person in my 21-year-old voice with the knowledge of my 55-year-old self. And so it was like, ooh, I have to stay true to the 21-year-old, but I'm writing it with the perspective of my 54-year-old self.
Who can reflect back.
Yeah, and who can make sense of things.
That can be complicated, how to write it. Though.
How to write it. And so it was like a really interesting process.
Did your coach help?
Having a coach kept me accountable.
Yeah.
So that was good. And then I would just let the story come to me, and it was really surprising what would come out of my fingertips.
Yeah. I love it.
And then the story would sort of tell itself. Mm-hmm. And 3 shows later, I know the process now, and I know to trust it. I just write it. It will
get it out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've written since I was a kid. Just wrote diaries and stuff, and then wrote my memoir. And I can commiserate with a lot of what you're saying. There was like 10 drafts, and it got published, but I could rewrite it again tomorrow. And I felt comfortable with my writing style, but you talk to other people and they're like, no, you have to write at least 2,000 words a day, and you have to set a time, and but well, that's your way.
Yeah.
I met Shelley Reed, who wrote Go as a River. She's from Gunnison, best-selling international author. She and I write the same, and it sounds like you do too. Something comes, you blurt it out, get it out. Sometimes you're in the car, you have to write it on a sticky note, and then you put it all together and make sense of it. But sometimes it just comes, different parts come at different times. I think it's fascinating and kind of cool.
So here's what I want to say about that too.
Yeah.
Because I heard all the things from different teachers. Oh, you want to show up every day to a blank piece of paper, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, well, I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm just not going to do that.
Yeah.
So whatever. As I engaged more with the need to write, see, it came to me as a need. All my creative stuff I'm filling a need in myself. So when I started writing the One Woman Show, I was meeting a need in me to make sense of what I had done in my previous years. Over time, I developed a relationship with my creativity, which I'm pointing to right over my right ear, right?
Would you
it's
call
right
that a
here,
muse?
sure.
Just
Muse, whatever. Yeah.
Thing floating around is always with you.
I call it a faucet. You asked me, did my writing coach help me? Yes. She said something to me that was so profound, because the ideas sometimes would come overwhelming. Like you talking about driving the car, whatever. I'd be at the grocery store and be in the frozen food section and be like, oh,
I gotta get this
I gotta
down.
go home right now. Sorry, Henry, if you're hungry, but I had a great idea. I don't have dinner for you, right? So she said, Jennifer, you're allowed to have boundaries with your muse.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, oh, you're kidding. That was like the best advice I ever got. That gave me trust that the ideas would still be there, that I could actually buy dinner for my kid. And it's been a relationship that I've had to learn how to manage.
Okay, yeah.
Whenever I finish a part and I perform it, I say, I need a brain break.
Okay. say that to your creative self.
I will come back. Like, I need to go on vacation. I will come back to you probably at the end of summer. And that seems to be how it works. It's like I kind of give myself a brain break a couple months, and then fall, I write. And then it's turned out this way. By March, I have a
new
performance ready.
Yeah, I love how you're just putting it out when you're ready.
When I'm ready. I call it like I get pregnant with the story. And so I usually start to get pregnant by the end of summer. Okay. And then like by fall, I'm full on.
Yeah. It's getting chillier and more acceptable to be inside or whatever.
Yeah. And then I usually deliver it at the beginning of the year, and then I start to rehearse, and then I perform it.
So
and it's like,
good to know there's maybe more to come.
Yeah.
I get that came during COVID. I felt very grateful that creativity came to me during COVID. It gave me a real purpose and something to look forward to and all that. You have also been part of some other productions with Colorado Tints.
Yeah.
Were you part of establishing Colorado Tints?
I started that
You did start it.
I did.
Okay.
Yeah, at the end of 2017, so that was 10 years I've been running the circus here. Yeah. And I needed a different vehicle I had more to say and more to put out in the world that didn't belong under the big top.
Circus. Yeah.
And so I had written all these poems, and I showed them to this gal, and she was like, we're going to stage a production, and we're going to do this big exhibition, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, we are? Okay. And so we threw this like production together, and I had to come up with like a name for the production company or have it be titled something. So literally I was like, Theater in Non-Traditional Spaces. Okay, Colorado Tints, that's what the company's called. And so it's become an umbrella for plays, readings. I help other people do book launches, variety shows of all kinds. Yeah. It's the format that it's kind of fallen into again. All these things sort of find their own way. Is like these one-person plays about a social change maker in history that I feel didn't get enough recognition. Yeah. Or that has been overlooked. So it's been really fun and really rewarding to come up with a person, and I'll hear it. I'll be on the treadmill and NPR will talk about, what? This guy, this radio journalist from the 40s? I'll get off the treadmill and listen. Well, we all need to know about Richard Durham, the first African-American radio play, blah, 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 from the 40s. So he became a play.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. And then like Mother Jones and Hedy Lamarr, and we're working one right now on Dorothy Parker.
Yeah, okay.
So that's been really, really fun.
So that's, sometimes it's Mike Brommel.
Mike Brommel, he's a playwright in Denver.
Yes. You brought the Matthew Shepard.
Yes.
That was wonderful.
Yeah.
It was hard for me not to cry the whole time.
Yeah.
The young man that, I'm supposed to interview him too. I need to get back to him.
Wonderful. Aiden. Oh,
yeah.
Wonderful. I mean, that cast was like phenomenal. Suzanne and Aiden were just perfect. That was such a good play. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that we take it to Denver Center of Performing Arts next year.
Yeah.
For their producing partner program.
Okay.
It should. It needs to. It's
Absolutely.
been 25 years since the Laramie project was produced there, and so I wrote the grant. I made a compelling argument. I hope they...
You wrote the grant.
Yeah.
Look at you. You're writing grants too.
Yeah.
That's not easy to do either.
Yeah.
So, okay, it's good to know. Like, I saw Colorado Tints. I'm like, I wonder if she helped start that.
Yeah.
I was right.
Yeah.
And so I love that you've got this outlet for your other ideas, your writing and helping other stories.
Well, yeah, and I want to
there.
say this to anybody who's listening, that the purpose for Colorado Tints is to bring underheard stories to the public through theater. And so anybody out there who has like a compelling story, call me and get in touch with coloradotints@gmail.com, because we want to hear about them.
Okay.
Performing is powerful because the stage is a totally neutral area. And the circus ring, you could say this too, is totally neutral. Anything that you carry, identity on the outside, doesn't apply. When you walk on the stage, all that crap is like irrelevant. What matters when you're on the stage is like what we call in circus is like your circus spirit, your willingness to be open, your willingness to take a risk. Same thing with theater is that you are a vessel for telling a story. The story is what's important. So you need to like serve the story. And when some of the actors, they get nervous, I'm like, if you're nervous and self-conscious, you're focusing on the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Focus on the story.
Don't focus on you.
Yeah. Focus on the lines you're saying or the other actor you're portraying to, and it frees you up from yourself, and you're there to serve the story. So the stage is there to bring these stories, to serve these stories to the public. And so, like, honestly, anybody out there, like, shoot me an email with a good story idea.
I've only acted a couple of times. It was with some high schoolers. But I really enjoyed it, and I really enjoyed being this character.
Yeah.
It did let me let go of myself.
Yeah.
So there's a gift in that that I
for
never
sure.
knew.
Oh, if you're acting, you're bringing the character to life. It's the same thing like a costume. Performers are paradoxically oftentimes shy people. It's hard to be themselves out in the world, but it's easy to be somebody else or something else on stage. Like they're bringing a character to life. So like sometimes when I would get a new circus kid or whatever, and they'd be like, I don't want to go. I go, here, put this costume on and just go bring the costume to life on stage.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. They
they
can
get
do
it.
that.
Yeah.
And so it's just getting around this little hang up about how it's really not about you, and
Kind of get over yourself.
get over yourself and see yourself as just a tool for this bigger creative endeavor.
You've been invited to my Halloween party. We get very good costumes, and there's a few people, I won't name them, but they completely change on Halloween, and it's so fun to watch.
Yeah.
It's like, wow.
Well, so it's funny because on Halloween, I'm staying in. It's like
That's
the
your
opposite.
break.
That's my break. I'm like,
You don't need Halloween.
I am not dressing up in costume and going out on Halloween. I'm gonna like be in my pajamas. Like,
Give out the candy. I hear ya, because you're doing it all the time,
yeah.
every day, all the time.
yeah.
Again, in the podcast with Adam, he asked great questions and you gave great answers. And you talked about all the idea, and you could tell, talking to Jen here, she has a lot of ideas.
Yeah.
Is there another one burbling up that you maybe haven't formed yet, or maybe you don't want to talk about it? Because
There's always things burbling up, always. And what I allow is for them to burble and be like, oh, okay, what are you saying? And I'll jot down notes or whatever. So 20th anniversary of Salida Circus is next year. So I'm like, okay, why don't we put our little attention antennas towards that and see what ideas can fit into that category.
Oh,
that's
okay.
that's a really useful way for me to channel
to
all
have
the
a
ideas.
kind of a format for maybe where it would go.
So that's
Okay.
one thing that I'm looking at. And I just, like I said, I had this really interesting conversation this morning with this clown teacher, performer. He does a million other things, but we had a Zoom call. He's in Cape Town. And I'd love to bring the Bloomtown Clown Troupe here. They're an outreach program in the townships around Cape Town that he lives in the city, and he goes out into the villages and sort of coaches them and organizes them, and then they do the work. And he sent me 3 videos of them. I'm like, they need to be here next year, staying at the circus house, doing outreach clowning workshops. I would love to make that happen.
How did you
Get in
connect?
Because the social circus world is very interconnected. My friend Barnaby King, who is he lives in Seattle. He's this English guy.
All these people have circusy names.
Circusy names, exactly, right? So he started a online clowning thing, and then he puts out a newsletter, and he interviews these really interesting clowns from around the world. And when I read Shaka, is his name Shaka, September, I was like, what he said spoke to me. He goes, clowning in South Africa is a necessity. For a country that is trying to re-identify itself, clowning toys with identity on so many levels. It toys with status, power, identity. And that's why it's so powerful to loosen the confines of those definitions. And so, he's a white man working in black townships. I think that's interesting in itself. And I'm going to see where that goes. We're already emailing ideas back and forth, and something will happen. I know something will happen. So that's one thing coming up.
I love this overarching idea of how you've just enlightened me on how clowning can be a pretty deep profession. Can do so many things.
Then I'll go into that right now.
Well,
okay,
sure.
clowning is like better than church.
Yeah.
And here's why.
I hope my mom listens to this because she was a clown for a couple of years with her husband.
Yeah.
And a lot of people made fun of her, but she did some really sweet things while she was doing it.
Jill's mom, thanks for your work, honestly. So first of all, clown is a verb. To clown, it's a verb. And what that means is, in my little definition right here and now, is that it loosens the confines of the shoulds of this world, right? So the archetype of the clown, it's naive, it's innocent, it doesn't understand hurting people's feelings. It's so innocent and pure, right? To get back to that essence is a part of clowning, to learn how to be that naive again and that unfettered by all the shoulds and all that in the world. You can clown on so many different levels too. A lot of great actors studied under Jacques Lecoq. He's the big French clown teacher. And what his motto was, he teaches clowning to liberate people from themselves. So instead of wearing all of our shoulds, we observe them and we play around with them a little bit. And so it loosens up the hold they have on us. So we can kind of laugh about our hang up, about our wrinkles or our imperfections or whatever your hang up is, which everybody has. But when you expose it, clowning is all about being vulnerable in a safe place. And then you play with those vulnerabilities, and then they don't become so vulnerable anymore. They don't become painful anymore. They just become things. I studied under this woman in London called Angela De Castro, and her course was called How to Be a Stupid. And
in a good way.
Oh yeah, totally. And the process, this was better than therapy. I became aware of things that were hangups to me I wasn't even aware of. People who are good at clowning they're like X-rayers. I swear to God, they can see in your soul because they've done all the work themselves, you know? And she would just like sort of look at you and then ask you this pointed question. It was like, how does she not?
Seeing through you. Is that maybe why some people are quote unquote afraid of clowns?
You know what? I never
Maybe
thought
that's
about that,
a
but
little deeper
could be, instead of them scary, maybe they're a little bit too aware, self-penetrating,
they're gonna confront you. Who the heck? Who are you?
Totally.
Quit screwing around here.
Exactly.
Be real.
Yeah.
That was a really neat new thing to talk about.
It's also the essence of like the humor happy hours that I've been running. Yeah. Because humor is the same, they're very closely linked. And one definition is just putting two opposite things next to each other, like somehow exposing, okay, that's a little
Well, I think I know what you mean.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, that's how you have a good conversation, too.
Yeah.
Is not always just agreeing about stuff. You have some kind of interesting provocation.
Yes, and also humor lies, again, in vulnerabilities, and we laugh at what we recognize or what we resonate with. So if I talk about something that's really exposing to me, but I talk about it in this tone, I talk about it like this, blah, 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 it shows I'm okay with it, which other people feel okay with it, and then they can talk about their stuff.
Yes.
And the practicing of it allows you to become okay with it. You don't want to go up and tell all your vulnerabilities and have a nervous breakdown. That just is going to be awkward for everybody, right?
Yeah.
But when you have a safe environment that you can sort of start to like touch upon these things because you want to just not be ruled by them. You want to be freed from them.
Yeah.
Plus, I'm not terminally unique. I'm not the only one in the world who's going to have my hang-ups. So that was a big liberating moment too when I'm like, well, why the heck shouldn't I talk about A, B, C, and D? Somebody else out there is, if I can play around with it, then maybe they can see themselves in the
and not feel
liberated.
bad about it.
Totally.
Be able to, and that is better than therapy. Mm-hmm. You are very unique, though.
Oh, thank you.
Everything else, we might all have similar things we worry about, but no, you're a good character. Very good character.
Thank you.
We're gonna wind down a little bit. Mm-hmm. You bake pies.
Yeah.
I just wanted to know a little bit about that. How did you start doing that?
Because it's like Play-Doh. Honest to God, this was another COVID thing that I was like, flour, butter, sugar, water. Okay, this is fun. Why not? And yeah, it was just a very grounding thing to do, and it became fun. And then I just was like, oh, anybody want a pie? And then so what is this, 2006? So I guess I've been doing it like 6 years now.
It's gone quickly. Do you do it specifically around, like, I saw a heart-shaped one. Was that around?
I do heart-shaped ones anytime, but I could do it for Valentine's. I'm all excited because I have a new recipe with the monk fruit. So if you're sugar-free or low-sugar person, call me. My company's called Forbidden Fruit Pies. Here's my tagline. Forbidden fruit pies. Pies so good, even Cromwell would have one. And that's a reference to Oliver Cromwell, who I'm going to get the date wrong, but I want to say something like 18-something, banned pies from England.
Oh, for heaven's sakes.
It was part of the austerity measure. He thought English people were too indulgent.
Wow.
I know. I was like, you know what? So
the goofy things.
Totally, right?
Happened. So this is why we need to remember stuff. Right? And maybe make fun of it a little bit.
Make fun of it and order one of my pies.
Realize how ridiculous it is. Okay, so that's another cool thing. You seem to stretch with your outreach that you do through the circus, through the plays. They have long fingers that go sometimes all around the world. Sorry.
It's okay.
So I was wondering, through that, knowing that you have that ability kind of to touch base outside of this small town that you live in, are you going to stay in Salida? Do you have any plans to leave anytime soon?
I'll put it this, I have no plans to leave anytime soon.
Yeah.
I'm raising my kid here. He's going to be a sophomore. I love Salida. And it's a great place to be creative because for me, it's a very low stress lifestyle here. I don't even have to start my car for a week if I don't want to. You know,
I love that.
I need a very low maintenance lifestyle. And so as an incubator, I like to create things to then take out in the world or find people to come here. So I say I live in a small town, but I live in a big world.
You sure do. Yeah, you're living all over the place.
Yeah.
So, okay, cool. I was just wondering if you were outgrowing Salida or if it's in your heart and it is an incubator. Yeah. So, well, we could continue to talk, but I'm going to end our talk here. And I hope people, of course, in Salida will listen, but I hope well beyond Salida will listen to your wisdom, especially about the power of clowning, man.
And I want to just throw this out there again, like this heal coaching thing that I've started. Humor can heal. That's the first line of the H of heal, you know. I do bring that into a perspective work.
Okay.
That's a good way to kind of wrap up what humor is. It's adopting a new perspective on the same situation, but from a new angle that liberates you.
The ability to look at yourself objectively.
And it's freeing. The whole purpose of all these things I do is to free yourself from your hang-ups, and then you have a great life.
Hey, who doesn't want that? Okay, that's a good note to end on. Here's to a good life, and I hope you heal soon.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it was fun. Thanks a lot for doing this.
Signing out for now. Thanks for listening, and as always, please subscribe, rate, refer, and review Colorado Soul Stories on your listening platform. It costs nothing and helps to grow our listening audience.
Welcome to Nude Foods Market, where we make plastic-free grocery shopping convenient, easy, joyful, and local. We have everything from produce, snacks, meat, and fresh bread to home care, body care, and ready-made meals. The big difference is that our deeply researched organic and local groceries come pre-packaged in returnable glass jars. You shop just like a regular store. The only difference is that instead of putting all that packaging into landfill when you're done with it, you bring it back to us to be reused hundreds more times. Visit our stores in Denver and Boulder and get $10 off your first shop. Go to nudefoodsmarket.com/CO Soul to claim your coupon. We're locally owned, women-owned, and working hard to fix our broken food system, so hope you can pop in and check us out soon.